What up? What up? Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all let me know if y'all could hear. If you're hearing me good, I'm trying something different. And that's all I've always said. Let's do something different. Y'all saw the last live. What's up, Patricia? What's up? Saw the last live where I was in my other setup. Of course, this is my new computer, new setup. And yeah, I just want to see if this works out like how I want it to work. Um, Oh, got people in the building. Y'all, please hit the like button already. Hit the like button. Appreciate y'all for being here. What's up? What's up? What up, Josh? You said you sound 100% black. Hey, I sound divine. That's what we going. That's how we gonna say it. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Golden Okie Aries. What's up? And yeah, please hit the like button. And yeah, I just wanted to just get on here real brief and kind of just go over some things that I heard. And it's always good. Like if you made a mistake, it's always good to correct your mistake. And before I was gonna get on here and make a bigger mistake, I had to double back and research. I originally thought Keefe D said something. I thought Keefe D denied Biggie had ever been in South Side Compton. And after doing the research, I can't like verify he didn't make that statement. It appears that it came from another South Side shot caller, Brown. He said that. But what's interesting is Keefe D himself. He actually talked about his relationship with Puffy and Bad Boy in the South Side providing security for him. So meanwhile, you got some Compton PD detectives. Uh, they said that Biggie did come to Compton. And I do remember being in high school that like hearing about Biggie being in Compton. And I thought that was crazy. Someone even had like pictures, I think. It was wild. But I'm just saying all this because sometimes things come out later in regards to what's up, Teresa? Uh, yeah, and Andre Santos, what's up? But things come out later where people will make up stuff about, oh, I heard this happened with this situation, but the reality is it's like it's probably some internet rumor, especially like currently. Back in the day, it was a little bit harder. You had a lot more people who were like visibly they could see stuff. What's up, Archangel Michael? Thank you. You had Auntie Lee. Okay. Oh man, you said it's a few hundred trolls over there, man. All right, now I'm gonna be here for a minute. I'll get over to Auntie Lee in a second too, though. What's up, Maria? Appreciate everybody for coming in. Jag is gonna go live in a second too. I just said let me get in here and wake it up and let me speak on something because I'm just going off of straight memory as opposed to like sometimes people um yeah as opposed to some people like making up stuff for clicks and views and just for the sake of being online. Now I say this because the South Sider Compton Crip guy, let me give y'all a little bit of backstory because Keefe D's trial will start next week. I'm speaking on the whole situation with Keefe D and Bad Boy, his relationship with Puffy, and their ties to Death Row, and the unalivement of Tupac and Biggie. I think Suge even said, if you want to solve Tupac's unalivement, you if you solve Tupac's unalivement, you'll solve Biggie's. And I was like, oh, I know what he's saying. I kind of know what he's saying, and I'm not going to point and say who he's talking about, but I get it. I know what he's talking about. But Keefe D is a link, definitely. Keefe D is a link. The whole South Side Compton situation is a connection, and I'm speaking on experience because I was at Compton High. My last year of high school, Compton High, was when Pac was unalive and Biggie was unalive, and it just so happened to be just like I'm in that space, like I'm in Compton, and remembering and seeing like, oh, what the hell is Biggie doing in Compton? That tripped me out. I was like, I don't think that's that's a good look, especially after uh what do you say? Smoke weed every day and after police. Okay. Somebody in here, y'all just got something to say. Walking through gaming machines. All right, that's what's up. Um, look, so let me give you guys a little bit of backstory, especially about the Keefe D situation. I corrected myself because I thought Keefe D was straight up like, yo, Keefe D lied or Keefe D is lying. But it wasn't Keefe D that said that Biggie was never in South Side Hood. It was another guy. So Keefe D, though, Keefe D is a factor in the situation because Keefe D said he had a relationship with Bad Boy and Biggie Circle. So Keefe D repeatedly described having a relationship with Sean Combs and Bad Boy Records. He did a Nightline. No. They did a review of the case on Nightline. And some authorities said that Keefe D and the South Side Crips sometimes provided protection for Biggie when he was on the West Coast. And Keefe D was involved in organizing protection for Bad Boy. So that right there in itself is significant because it says that Keefe D wasn't describing Biggie as someone completely disconnected from his circle. And then, of course, Keefe D went on Vlad TV and discussed meeting Puffy and being around Biggie. And, Keefe D actually said Biggie would have been well protected if the Southsiders would have provided security for him that night, March 8th, March 9th. Because he said that in Vlad TV. Biggie would not have been unalive if the South Side Crips had been protecting him. So that means that his public narrative wasn't Biggie had nothing to do with us. It was closer to like we had a relationship with Bad Boy, and our people been handling Biggie's protection that night. If they would have been handling that, it would have went differently. So yeah, like Keefe D is just he put himself in this situation like him saying, or not even saying, I guess his nephew is Davy Lane. I believe that's who they're putting they're saying that's the trigger man. That's what they're saying is the trigger man. He's just immersed in this whole case. And then he wrote the book. We'll talk about the book situation too. Keefe D though did say that the South Side, he talked to the police. He said the South Sides did not unalive Biggie. He can't say, and he never said that Biggie wasn't around the South Siders. The one guy, I believe it's Brim, the one cat who's let me just say alleged shot caller for South Side Crips. He said that Biggie never was in the hood, and if he was in the hood, he would have known. So I thought Keefe D said that, but that was someone else. I was like, wait, if Keefe D is going around saying that Biggie wasn't in the hood, in their hood, dude finna get locked up. He's gonna be up out of here because he's just straight contradicting himself. He's straight lying. But Keefe D is that key. Like I said, somebody literally said, I think it was Suge. Suge said, if you solve Biggie's unalignment, you'll solve Tupac. And if you solve Tupac, you'll solve, he says, the same people. And I'm starting to just see it. It's like, oh, okay, it's starting to make sense. It's starting to make sense. Yeah, Keefe D discussed with the Compton police um, them suspecting Orlando Anderson, Baby Lane, after Biggie was unalive. He denied that theory and described himself as upset when Biggie died. So that's consistent with Keefe D portraying Biggie as someone connected socially and business wise to their whole little world. And Biggie wasn't some stranger who couldn't have been around him. Now, you say Vlad is now taking credit for solving Pac's unalivement demise. Yeah, Vlad needs to let's really get Vlad up out of here for real. Yeah, I'm a historian. Check out my channel. I have a documentary on the history of West Coast hip hop. So if you're familiar with hip hop, well, let me just say it's not even West Coast hip hop. Let me just say it's hip hop, because if you're familiar with hip hop, and we just had the quote unquote anniversary. What was it? The 53rd anniversary of the birth of hip hop, 1973, August 11th, the Bronx. Everybody knows that story. And like I said, Napoleon said this best: history is a group of lies agreed upon. The East Coast just got they got their story straight first. And the whole Bronx party, blah, blah, blah. I ain't even say it's a myth, but that's just it's almost like, it's like the Canaanized version of the Bible. I'll just say it like that. But I got history, and I got an actual person walk through the gaming machine who was very influential in the birth of hip hop, because if you go back to that party with Who Hurt, his dancers, they called the N-word twins. They will tell you, oh, we were inspired by this guy named Don Campbell. And Don Campbell's from the West Coast. Don Campbell's from Fresno. So yeah, go look that documentary up, and then you could tie in, or whatever questions you got. But anyway, Teresa, you said Keefe D was playing both sides with Suge and Diddy. I think, well, see the way it is in Compton, because as a kid I thought it was just like Bloods didn't do business with Bloods, Crips didn't do. They certain people did kind of interact with each other. So I think Suge's connection to Keefe D, I don't know, but Suge know more than what he's claiming. I just saw that Reggie Wright. Speaking of Reggie Wright, because I was going to get into the Compton Police Department. Okay, James, what are you talking about? That's why I don't be leaving the chat open. That's a weird question, bro. Yeah, they were all friends. They were all friends. Like, they were all connected. Like, I know that for a fact, and I'm not going to say everything that I know, but I know for a fact that there's that intersect. Reggie, Suge, Keefe D, because they all Compton. And then we got the Puffy situation. The reason why Puffy was connected to the Southsiders is because of Zip. And Zip, if y'all do the research on who Zip is, I know you heard of who Zip is, Jag. I think, see, this is where the whole RICO thing, people need to, like, the authorities really need to reassess and really like get in on this RICO situation, because not only did Puff have the connections in Compton and LA like that, y'all got to look into his Detroit connections. What's up, God's Daughter 77? What's up? What's up? His Detroit connections is heavy. Puffy had connections in Detroit as well. Puffy and so I guess when you talk RICO, what does RICO mean? Racketeering. What is RICO again? But it's basically racketeering, right? Conspiracy. Yeah, so I'm just what's up, Akshay? I'm just trying different angles. It says zoomed in. This is because of the way it's set up or whatever. What's up, Hazel? Y'all tell me, what is racketeering? RICO. Basically, it breaks down to racketeering. Is it racketeering? Um, Something conspiracy organization? They're just that you say they're just celebrating the party, not the beginning of hip hop, which is how I see it. Yeah. Okay. All right, we're gonna get back to that hip hop discussion. But like I said, I just think don't leave out everybody when it comes to this hip hop conversation. You can't leave out the West Coast. You can't. Our first element was dance. You know, West Coast don't we boogie. Let's just say it like that. And you can't deny us. Like we started this hip hop stuff. That's pretty much what I'm saying or whatever. Um. Anyway, yeah, Puffs connects to Detroit. Yeah, and the reason why we got all that information about Puffy's connection to Detroit through Derek Lee Cardello Smith. That's pretty much how we're connecting the whole little situation. Um, yeah, racketeering influence corrupt organizations. Puffy is the epitome of racketeering influenced corrupt organizations. The music industry is that racketeering influenced corrupt organizations. You know how many tour buses got had them heaters and pow pows and transporting chicks and stuff. Come on, man. Like if we really gonna get into it, that's why I was like Puffy going down and getting the slap on the wrist. That was to protect the others. Even this D4DV situation, that's to protect the higher ups. But that's a whole nother conversation. Puffy is connected to all kind of street organizations. He was. This is verified. This Keefe D trial will verify that Puffy was connected to the Compton Crips, street organizations. Why isn't he being hit with a RICO because of that? And he was connected to uh, street organizations in Detroit, and he's connected allegedly to politicians and judges and stuff in Detroit. Puffy's being looked out for. That's all I'm really. That's what I'm really trying to say. Puffy's being looked out for. This whole thing with Keefe D situation. Look, there was a Compton detective who he specifically identifies a discussion where Biggie was visiting Compton and the knowledge of Keefe D and the South Side Crips and the specific ties around allegation that Biggie was hanging with some South Side Crips right after right after Tupac died. And like I said, I remember this was late. This had to have been late '96 because I'm thinking. So now I'm thinking, and I just have to really think. I remember Pac passing pretty much September of '96, like within those first weeks of school. It was like Pac passed away, and then I heard the rumors of Biggie being in Compton. It had to have been late to 96. And we were like, what is Biggie doing in Compton? I was at Compton High at the time. This detective was doing the whole research about Biggie hanging with the South Side Crips and stuff. And like I said, I just remember that and I just thought it was like, yo, this is crazy. What is Biggie doing in Compton? And I think I saw like a picture, not like a clear picture of Biggie, like, yo, like, no, it was like some fuzzy, like someone took a picture from like far away, but it was Biggie or whatever. And Southside Crip Hood isn't far from Compton High. Not at all. It's really close. Um, so yeah, let me see. Where else I'm gonna go with this conversation? Um, so My thing is Keefe D lying? Of course, I think Keefe D is lying in certain instances to protect to CYA. I'll say it like that. Um, is is he going to be convicted? Because the case right now looks like they're hitting him with the what's the major charge? Y'all know the major charge. He's looking at some really heavy time, and they said they're gonna have the gang enhancement. I think 2 enhancements because he's gang affiliated. Are they gonna double back if he is convicted? I think he might end up being. I thought maybe he might, but I think he's gonna end up being convicted of this whole little situation. What do you say? Let me read the comments. Did you know Snoop was hanging out with them same South? I wouldn't put it past it. I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past it. I wouldn't put it past it. Do you think they're going to allow all these facts to come forward in the KPD trial? No, no. They are going to, like I said, they're protecting who they need to protect. I think their ultimate protection is Puff Daddy, Puffy, P Diddy, P Shitty, and Suge too. I mean, but Suge's doing 28 years. Um, it's really protecting the music industry. Like I could really go in about Black Mafia, Jewish Mafia, the just music industry. Like I could really go in. So effing special. What's up? Hey, you keep calling me I'm an OG. I'm not Unc. I'm older than Unc. Stop. So I'm an OG, but I appreciate you. I'm just messing with you. What's up, my? Yeah, they're protecting music industry. They're gonna allow Keefe D to come in and just fall for the sucker ish. Do you think Suge was working uh with I guess them to take Pac out? Yeah. I think Suge. I heard rumors of Suge. So when they were letting off from the car to to send them things to Pac, I heard Pac was trying to get in the back seat, and I heard Suge grabbed him and held up Pac like a shield. So yeah, it's definitely something we got to look into the autopsy reports because I could probably I think there's pictures out there about with the wounds. Let's say the inter wound. So it that's probably likely what happened. It's probably likely what happened. But we'll see. And I don't. I'm not one of these people that's like saying that Pac is still alive, even though I've heard rumors. I've actually talked to actual Panthers who were like, when you go, I ain't gonna get into that, but I don't know. I mean, hey, that would be a wonderful story if he is alive, but I'm not gonna. I don't know, because I can't speak on that. I don't know. He likely isn't here with us in the physical, but yeah, because it was. I remember it was like they were like Pac. It was looking bad. Then they were like maybe September 11th or 12th. They were like, okay, Pac is recovering. Like I remember this like it was yesterday, and we were like, okay, Pac's gonna pull through. They said he probably won't like rap the same. Like it was all kind of speculation of like what Pac was gonna pull through, but he wasn't gonna be maybe they that something with his lungs. They had to take out a lung, this and that, and then like that morning, I think the 13th, they were like, oh, he died, and everybody was like, oh, it was just like, yo, yeah, I always wanted to believe he was when I was young. Yeah, Maria is like Santa Claus. I mean, I mean, there's rumors about Nip. I mean, but we don't know. Like I said, we don't know. We don't know until if I pull up and I go see him or something, and I see it for my own self, then I'll believe it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Look, this whole little situation with Keefe D is definitely interesting. Like I said, him making those statements, I thought he made a statement, and I was like, oh, he's screwed. But he didn't make the statement. It was something else. But Keefe D has basically always said Biggie is hella close, was hella close, and he was upset at the fact that Biggie got unalive. And they're saying the true target was Puff, which would make sense. I think Biggie knew, like, I got to get away from Puff. And he wanted to do his own thing. I mean, he was already doing some stuff with He had to undo his thing, right? Junior Mafia, all that. Like, Biggie had shit popping. Like, Biggie had his own little shit popping. Biggie already knew, like, the way this, I guess, as he start to see. And from what I was, when me and Jag were talking, they used Craig Mack to really build up Bad Boy. And because Flavor in Your Ear was crazy. Like, that record was just crazy. Again, shout out to Easy Mo B, one of the dopest, man. Like I said, he produced for my brothers in them, bro. And that record went crazy. And then that pushed the Biggie's Juicy. And that record went crazy. It went out of here. Still, Project Funk the World is still my favorite project of any Bad Boy project. I don't care. It just brings me back to, Biggie's album was cool too, but Project Funk the World was the shit. But Biggie's took off, and then Biggie knew that they were going to basically get over on Craig Mack, because Craig Mack, after Project Funk the World, that was it. He had Operation Get Down. I don't think that was on Bad Boy. I remember there was was it the Rap City Basement, where Puffy and was sitting down with Craig Mack, like, yo, yeah, we finna do this next Craig Mack album. Craig Mack was looking like, I ain't finna do no goddamn album with you. That shit was funny. But Biggie saw the treachery that went on within this industry, and the treachery that Puffy did to his artists. So I think Biggie was already like, well, let me just get up out of here. And like I said, that night at the Vibe magazine parties, so they were trying to. Now that I think about it, because Keefe D said the South Sides would have made sure Biggie would have survived. He said Biggie would not have been unalive if the South Side Crips had been protecting him. He said this on Vlad TV. It makes sense. And then I'm thinking about who else they tried to blame. They tried to blame the Treetops because DJ Quick was there. I know DJ Quick spoke on it. You a gangster, you ain't gangster, or whatever that song was. Shout out to Quick, one of our geniuses out the city. And he said that they tried to blame it on him and the South Side Crips. I mean, the Treetop Crips. I mean, Bloods. I'm tripping. Treetop Bloods. They tried to blame it on him. So there was all types of, like, just gang shit going on at within that industry. They said that, they blamed two Muslims, right? I remember Little C's was pointing out, like, yo, I know who that guy is, and man, it's so much stuff. But they're just protecting a bunch of people, because if one person says the wrong thing, it just pulls and that string. It'll be so much devastation. I feel bad for Biggie's mom, who had passed away. Rest in peace, Miss Wallace. Even the city of LA, they were doing what they can to cover up Biggie's unalivement, because they would have had to give Miss Wallace billions of dollars, because Biggie was already out of here with the music, with his potential, because it was I think she sued wrongful death, and who's responsible. But the city of LA definitely would have had to dish out and they covered that. They literally they did what they did to man. These people, these politicians, these music people, these people ain't shit because they will. They're not about justice. They're not about making sure the right shit happens. Like Valletta Wallace would have received so much money because Biggie was already making a substantial amount of money back then, and his potential would have been he definitely would have had his own thing, and he would have just been out of here. That's all I know. But yeah, keep your mouth shut and never read your friend's number. What? Keep your mouth shut and never read on your friend's number one. What are you talking about? What's going on? Whoever this person is. I don't know what you're talking about because you lost me. Maybe let me go back and see what the F you talking about. Yeah, Biggie had 65 million from Epic Records. What did he found out? And that's when he knew Biggie was gonna hurt. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Real talk, real talk. Biggie would have been. Come on, Biggie would have been that dude. They really should have. Like if Pac would have lived, of course Pac would have been president. Stop it. Biggie would have been like uh, somebody to contend with within this music industry, and they didn't want that. Even though Biggie was Jamaican, and I'm gonna talk about that later because the whole Tethergate, that does not wait. That does not. Uh, I'm like, am I dyslexic or you or some people can't type? I'm trying to read this comment. Y'all, am I tripping? That does not how it works. There's people that hold strings. Okay. Yeah. All right. Come. Yeah, I know, but you're gonna write something. You got to be in English. I know a little Spanish, but English. Got to be English. What was I saying? But anyway, I mean, these people protect each other. That's really what it boils down to. They protect their interests. They're not interested in producing justice. This Keefe D situation is going to go on. It'll probably end. I guarantee you, this is how they do it too. It's probably going to end on between September 7th and September 13th of this year. This is when this trial is going to end. Watch. That's what's going to happen because they like to be ceremonial with this whole get down. So yeah, just watch. But my prediction is they're gonna just send Keefe D up. He's gonna get life. They said, because he has 2 enhancements, he's gonna, yeah. Man, no, what's going on, man? No issues. Like I said, if you're gonna type something, it just needs to be in English you know, you got the way you structure sentences is, you start off with like anyway. Yeah, they said 4 to 6 weeks, but it's probably gonna be because what would that be? The 16th. It will officially start Monday, and I don't know if I'm going back down there, but I do got some connections. Um, let me see before I go, because I do got some connections. Some people is feeding me some information. I don't go off of trolls. I go off of real like journalists. I know some real journalists who are in the building. So let me just look this up. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Oh man. So there's some stuff about the jurors. The state wants to put on the record there was a juror who may have lied about a criminal history, and a juror who made it to the next round. Oh man. So yeah. So this is day 4 of the jury selection. But yesterday, uh, Keefe D was in court, white polo, and he shook his hands with the defense attorney and nodded at a few people in the gallery as he walked in. Um, some young juror said it was a pretty cool case, and he got excused. So yeah, maybe I'll come back and we'll talk about all the stuff that with these jurors because I got the information as far as like the jury stuff. Maybe I'll probably do that tomorrow. I'll probably come back tomorrow and we'll talk about the jurors that are because they should have everybody picked by tomorrow for sure. But I'm gonna talk about what that's interesting. They said a man in his 30s was questioned. Used to work at a nightclub. Uh, during the time, and he was in the room with Puffy. The state says during the course of this trial, Mr. Combs' name will come up. Asked if that will affect his ability to be impartial. He says no. Interesting. We'll come back. We'll talk about these jurors and stuff like that, though. Jag, think you up next, right? Ain't you coming? Everybody get on. Let's go over to Jags. We're about to get all over to Jag. We're doing a field trip, right? All right. I appreciate y'all being here. I didn't even expect to be here this long. Tomorrow we'll talk about the jurors in this case. All right. Peace.